Hey guys, and welcome to my latest video. And today I'm going to go over the general playstyle of Destruction Warlock. This video should hopefully give you a better understanding of how to position and when to play aggressive and defensive. So to begin with, let's talk about how the start of your games should look. As a Warlock at the start of your game, your first thought is always going to be to get a gateway out and set up your portal if you're spec'd into it. However, don't make a huge deal of setting up your gateway as Destro. Usually, if the enemy team stops me at the start of the game, I won't try again until I have free time. So for example, if the enemy team runs to line of sight, I will use this to make a gateway. This of course isn't to say that gateway isn't useful. Later on I'll show you how to use gateway as destruction specifically. As Destro, you're going to want to get your emulates out as quickly as possible. The reason for this being that emulate will give you a really gradual flow of soul shards as the game goes on, and try to make sure you always have emulate up on as many targets as possible. Havoc is primarily used for setting up kill opportunities as Destro with Mortal Coil, but it can also be used for massive soul shard generation. In this clip, because of the opener with my Havoc, I'm able to just spam damage. Keep in mind that using conflag while you have a Havoc up will give you double the resources, so an entire soul shard. Dimensional rifts are also a good source for fragments. If you're having trouble getting your emulates out at the start, the safest thing to do is just use all 3 charges of your Dimensional Rift. The damage you put out should be enough to make people back off, or at least give you some room to breathe. Personally, I like to always have at least 1 charge available to me, so that if I get kicked, I'll have some damage available to me. It's also nice to hold a charge so that you can delay your Chaos Bolts. So let's talk about positioning as a Destro lock. As Destro, you should be looking to play as much in the open as possible. Line of sight is your biggest enemy, and fighting your opponents on a pillar will do you no favors. Try and make sure your partners aren't kiting you around pillars too much, as this will make you very useless. When being trained, the best thing to do is also to kite into the open, as kiting around pillars will mean that you will just get line of sighted on the cast that people don't have interrupts for. In this clip, due to my priest's consistent positioning in the open, I am able to free cast damage the entire game without the issue of being line of sighted. Using offensive cooldowns will usually come down to if the target is in the open, if I'm not being tunneled, or if the target I'm using my cooldowns on is low or in some crowd control. In this clip, my priest is under a lot of pressure and the monk is nowhere near me to paralyze me. Try and take into consideration all the things that could potentially stop you before using your cooldowns. Versus RMD on Dalaran, it can be really hard to get Chaos Bolts off because of how slippery all the targets are, along with the overwhelming amount of line of sight. So it's important that before I use my CDs to get some crowd control on the targets. Try and coordinate with your team to set this up. So for example, ask your priest to throw out a silence onto the mage so he can't blink and then go hard with your cooldowns. It's important you keep track of enemy abilities when using your CDs. In this clip, I thought we could get a quick kill onto the rogue without taking his shadow mode into consideration. So what all these clips have in common with my CD usage is that the targets are all in the open for at least 1 big Chaos Bolt. As Destro, you can kind of do your own thing in games, so long as you're actually getting damage off that matters. In this game, I play almost the entire game in the same position while hitting whatever I can. My preference is to hit whatever I can, primarily the priest, while swapping between Earthshield. Going back to the gateway now, I decided to follow the enemy team in to poke them a bit while they recovered, with my gateway nearby. The reason I don't stay in for longer is I'm putting myself and my priest in an awkward spot to do damage while remaining as safe as possible. Once again, the best place to reliably get damage off his Destro is in the open and not by pillars. Once I drag them back into the open, it's a lot easier to get damage off and we get a pretty easy kill onto the priest. Thanks for watching my latest video and I will see you next time.